Hello everybody and welcome along to PSGL Season 31. This is round 8 of the PlayStation Top Tier Championship and this is a pivotal moment of the season. 4 more rounds to go and very soon, in just over a month's time, we will find out who's the F1 champion. My name is Jesper, one of your commentators as per usual, and joining me in the commentary box once again is Mr. Aiden Carter. Aiden, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Looking forward to this evening, last race before we have our little break week, and then we're into the final part of the season. So, yeah, looking forward to it. Like you say, the season has absolutely flown by. I don't know where the time has gone. I don't know how we're already at round 8, but we are here, and yeah, closing in on a title now. And it's going to be a really interesting final end to the season, especially with the rest of the calendar that we've got coming up. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too, and some different winners we've had as well. We saw, obviously, Rudy take the win in Monza, and we saw Dan Urco go back to his winning ways last week by winning at his home Grand Prix at the Tifosi favourite at Imola as well. So it was very, very great to see him going back on form, and he has a big gap in the championship. It can't be won tonight, but it can be won at the next track next week in Jeddah, but we won't go through the permutations just yet because obviously you can't be won tonight. So Dan Urco only finished up in 6th place in Monza, but he actually went on to take the win in Imola. Is he really starting to find his form back, and do you think he's the one to watch?
He's got to be, hasn't he? You say that Monza was a little bit of a blip on the radar, I would say, for Dan Urco, but other than that, really, for the season, it's been pretty much a faultless season for Dan Urco, hasn't it, so far? Obviously, the first 2 rounds didn't quite go his way with a penalty at Miami and some damage early on in Austria, but he's still picked up really solid results there. And then every other race this season, he's finished either first or second, so he's done incredibly well. And with a 31-point championship lead over the joint second-place drivers, it's going to have to take some bad luck, I think, for the drivers behind to have a shot in this championship, I would say. If it's just based on performances alone, I think Dan Urco, he doesn't need to win, really, for the rest of the season. I think he's still got it in the bag.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of championship standings, we may as well go through the championship standings right now. So, as Aiden was just alluding to, 31-point gap between Dan Urco and Philip Valters. So Dan Urco leads the championship on 80 points. Second is Philip on 50. Joint with Rudy actually as well, after he getting a second place last time out in Imola. Was so close to another race victory. He could have got 2 in a row, but I have to say he was pretty happy with second place. Now, bearing in mind he's not feeling very well tonight, plus he has a broken pedal, so expect him to not do as well tonight, but if he does well tonight, then that'll be even more impressive. Facecam is 4th in the standings with 47. Tom is 5th on 41. Don't forget he won a race back in Japan. Brock in 6th place on 27. Kizidal in 8th on 22 points, joint with Jensen as well, who had a really good result last time out, who got a 4th place in Imola. Then we got Rowan in 9th on 20 points. We got Ray in 10th on 18 points, as well as Legend, who is back racing tonight. I need to remember what car he's in, but we'll go through that in just a few moments' time. Louis, again, is not racing tonight because he's got a 3-race ban. This is the second race he's not allowed to race in, but he's sitting 13th on 13 points. 14th is Orgiano on 10. 15th is Fabi on 10 as well. Namaya is 16th on 9. He was having a good race and unfortunately he got involved in an incident and some spins. Shakita in 17th on 8. Then we got Mishin 18th on 3, as well as H Eagle. Marcos, who had a very good performance last time out in Imola as well, despite that spin, still managed to pick up 2 points overall this season. And Fede in 21st place with 1 point. Everybody else, Fazilia, the only full-time driver yet to score. And obviously we got a few reserve drivers as well. So we got Deso in the AlphaTauri tonight. He is, I can't remember who's replaced, we'll go through that in just a moment. And then we've got Legend in the Aston Martin replacing Louis. And then we got Nam in the Williams replacing Fuzilia. So those are our reserves tonight. We got a full 20-car grid as we are about to get in to the action then. It is a very nice track which I really love. Hosted many championship deciders in PSGL, believe it or not. Quite a few crazy ones in PSGL F1, if you remember. I think it was season 26 where we saw Gil take the title in that championship. But we know that it produces some great racing, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. Brazil is a great track for racing, really, real life and on this game as well. It's not really dependent on a lot of dirty air around this track, because a lot of the corners in the mid part of the lap are very slow. There's a long pit straight, and the run down towards turn 4 as well is fairly long, so there's some good opportunities. And because the corners are so slow in the middle part of the lap, it's actually really easy to run side by side. So yeah, it is a good track in terms of racing. You can see a lot of DRS trains form around this track, but I don't think the DRS trains have had too much of an impact on the actual racing this season compared to what we've seen on previous games. So I think, yeah, it's definitely going to be a good track for racing for this evening. One thing it's not going to be good for, though, is traffic in qualifying. With everybody out on the track right now, looking at the track map, there are cars all over the place. So potentially we could see a few impeding dramas tonight. I would say it's one of the shortest tracks on the calendar in terms of time, so that is going to be one thing to look out for. I think Jensen is going to be the first person to set a lap in this session, as he usually does, but just behind him on the road as well is Ray, and I'm on board with Ray at the moment. He's just a 10th up on what Jensen is managing, so when Jensen comes to the line, expect Ray to go just that little bit faster. 7.6 to start off for the Alpine driver, and Ray's going to cross the line and go just exactly 0.2 of a second quicker on a 7.4.
There we go. That was some good lap times from Ray. Now, don't forget the times in F2 will probably be a bit slower than this in F1 because it started off raining and then it was dry towards the end of the session. So we all expect, I think, 106 tonight. And Danerco's just gone fast. It's with a 107.3. And I'm liking this new Ferrari livery that just came in the latest update. It's only available for a limited time, but the yellow just goes very nice with the red. It's celebrating the 75th anniversary of Ferrari, and it was debuted at the Italian Grand Prix back at the weekend as well. So it's great that Codemasters have introduced that livery into the game. Hopefully if they have any more special liveries from teams, they can introduce that as well. We'll also see that from Mish today as well. We got a few more drivers up to the line. We got Nam, our reserve driver for tonight in the Williams, comes across the line in 14th. Now, we saw a reserve driver in Williams at the weekend, didn't we? Nick de Vries, he scored some points. Now, is he going to be the man who repeats that and scores points? Because there's been some races where he's DNF'd in quite a few, but he's had some more practice on this game, so he should be good. Deso, he was on a lap. He's unfortunately backed off, and I think that is it of all laps so far in qualifying. So Danerco's going into the pits with a 107.3. He's currently provisional pole. Asakome in second with a 107.3. All the times are just so close, and that's what you expect with a track like this. One of the shortest on the calendar. First built in 1940, but it didn't host a Formula One championship race until 1973. Located in the Sao Paulo suburb of Interlagos. It's called the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, in honour of Carlos Pache, actually, who won his only F1 race at the circuit in 1975, but died tragically in a light air crash in 1977. So that's why the track was named after him. The track used to be about 7 kilometres long, and then it got revamped a little bit to make it, obviously, to the 4.309 kilometres that we know today due to safety reasons. There was a bit of a bumpy track service with the longer track, so I can understand why as well. And it hosts a few races in Rio de Janeiro as well, 10 races between 1978 and 1989. And then it returns to the 4.309 kilometre circuit that we know today, back in 1990, and remained ever since. And home to the late Ayrton Senna as well, who has won a lot of home Grand Prix here, and is a home favourite. And the Brazilians actually like Lewis Hamilton as well. I think Lewis Hamilton was given an honorary Brazilian citizenship, well, status, because the Brazilians love him so much. But everyone is on their out laps again, and we got 4 or 5 drivers still yet to set a time. That's because Cazizzo, Rowan, Oggiano and H. Eagle. Now, H. Eagle, I was so relieved last week. He managed to get his first points this season after so many races of not scoring points. To be honest, we saw that in real life, where it took a while for Mick Schumacher to get his first points. He suddenly got a few points in a row. Could we see the same for H. Eagle?
It's definitely on the cards. H. Eagle's been so close many times this season when it comes to points, hasn't he? There's been times where he's been right there, but just finished 11th and not been quite on the money. But he definitely has the opportunity tonight. I think now that he's got the first points on the board, that's maybe one thing out of the way, and he can relax a little bit more now, and he doesn't have to put too much pressure on himself. So maybe that is something that he can look forward to going forwards. He actually dives into the pit at the end of that run, which is a little bit surprising, because he actually had a pretty competitive middle sector that time around, as Oggiano goes to the top of the timesheets in the Haas car. So we'll see what anybody else can do. I think, if I'm not mistaken, out of 8 races, we've had 7 different pole sitters so far this season. I wonder if we can get an 8th tonight. I think around a track like Brazil, like you say, it's so close around this track that it could be very likely to happen that we could get an 8th pole sitter this season. So that would be a brilliant thing to see if we do get that. So we'll wait and see what these drivers can do. And it's nice to stay, like you were talking about the history of this track. It's nice to be back at this track, isn't it? There was rumours circulating a couple of years ago that we'd been moving away from Interlagos and we'd be going to a brand new facility in Rio de Janeiro that not a lot of people were too happy about. That plan hasn't come to fruition. I think that is a great thing to see, because this is a proper classic, isn't it? This is a track you put up there with the likes of Spa and Monza and Silverstone as a circuit that's been here for a long time and really it really like hosts the essence of the sport, doesn't it? It's a pure driver's circuit, and it hosts great natural racing, and it doesn't have these really long straights like we see with modern race tracks as well. So it is an adored track by a lot of people. Was Ray on his second lap has just gone second fastest in the McLaren. I'm just seeing who is next across the line. I think Facecam will be next to have a run up to the line in the AlphaTauri. Crosses the line and goes up into third, just ahead of Dinerco, but Dinerco is a 10th.5 up at the end of the second sector.
There we go then. So he's got a lot to prove. He was pole at the start of the session. Is he going to be pole in the middle part of the session as well with 10 minutes to go? Well, let's just see. Yes, he does. Well, it's not really a surprise, to be honest, at this stage. A 107.178, and that lap was pretty much incredible for him. And it's going to take quite a bit of beating for this point during the session, but we can possibly see Dinerco definitely potentially going to the 106, because he was definitely not at the lowest fuel range you could possibly have around this track, as Cazizzo not set a representative lap time yet. He's going to come across the line, and is he going to beat Dinerco up to the line? No, he does not. He only currently sits 13th fastest, and 4 tenths separates first and 13th, which is very small margins here. And you were saying that there were 7 different pole sitters. Actually, there wasn't, because Cazizzo got pole twice season. He almost got pole last time out, but didn't, and he could be the first one to get 3. You never know. No one has got more than 2 apart from him, so maybe Dinerco could be the one that gets 2. You never know. He's looking like he's the favourite at the moment, but we've got some yellow flags for people moving out the way. H Eagle, I believe, will go on a second attempt, 16.6 in the first sector. That's looking pretty good as well. A lot of corners on this track where you can invalidate quite a bit here as you head towards turn 5 and 6 as well. We see people go for very brave moves down the inside there as well. They could go side by side for ages. I had a really nice battle. I think it was either in F1 2019 or F1 2020 for like 5-6 laps, and we just couldn't stop going side by side. It's just a really crazy track just to get some overtakes done, especially with these new generation of cars. So H Eagle currently sitting in last at the moment. He's going to be one of the last people to set competitive lap time for the time being, as there's yellow flags once again, but we'll see where he can match against his competitors. It's going to be very tight, let's just say, because it's looking pretty decent, and it's a 107.4. Decent lap, but only puts him in P15, which shows how close it is at the moment. Orgiano, I believe, is on a lap right now. Yes, he is, and we'll see how he is in the middle sector. 16.6. I think we've seen a lot faster lap times from a lot of the other guys as well. So it won't be pole yet, but we've seen people go faster in the final sector, and that can make or break a lap.
It really can, yeah. And this track is another one of those tracks where you kind of have to find a compromise setup-wise, because you've got so many long, slow corners in the middle part of the lap. You need the grip in the middle part of the corner, and you need the traction, but you also need the straight line speed for that long run all the way out from the last corner up to the run to the line, and of course the run down to turn 4. So it's trying to find that balance between the two. So if you've got a great car for the middle part of the lap, it could be great for qualifying, but if you're too slow in the final part of the sector, you could be a sitting duck in the race. So it's going to be one of those things, really, isn't it? It's trying to find that balance. As Orgiano is up in the middle part of the lap, he's nearly a 10th up. It's going to be incredibly close between him and Dinerco on the run to the line. Can he sneak pole position? No, he can't. He actually lost a little bit of time in that final sector compared to his personal best, so stays third for the time being, does the Haas driver. So yeah, it's still very, very close at the front of the field. Just look at the gap, by the way, between Nemanja in 4th position at the moment and Cazizzo in 14th position.
Wow.
There's 0.105 of a second from 4th down to 14th. That is incredibly close. And of course, you've got H Eagle just behind that and Orgiano just ahead of that in times in that gap. So yeah, just over a 10th of a second separating 11 drivers from 4th down to 14th.
That is just absolutely insane. And people think that this is F1 esports, but this is not F1 esports. This is the top tier on the PlayStation. And we see many of these guys go from PlayStation to the PC. And there are rumours, of course, that Denerko won't be racing on PlayStation next season, maybe going on to PC full time. He does have a computer now, but he's just going to see how these last few races pan out. And if he doesn't win the title, which it is inevitable at the moment, but you never know, anything can happen in Formula One. Say that to Sebastian Vettel. As we've had something to spice up this qualifying session. Well, we're not going to have some final laps in, because look at what's on the halo. It is raining in Interlagos. Well, not really that surprising due to the nature of Interlagos. We saw it rain at the start of F2. Well, we're seeing rain at the end of F1. So pretty much polar opposite to F2. So it looks like Denerko will be the second driver this season to secure a second pole position.
Yeah, it's looking like it, isn't it? It was just riding on board with Denerko in that middle section. He's already losing time. So, yeah, the rain's coming down very quickly. I was wondering why a lot of drivers were heading out for runs that early in the session, but that now fully explains it, you've got to say, isn't it? Everybody rushing out to get as many laps in as they could before the rain came. So, yeah, that is a real shame for a few drivers that weren't able to get good lap times in at the very start of the session. I think the most namely one to look out for there is Brock. Dead last on the grid in that Mercedes. There's been a pole sitter this season, has Brock. He's been running at the front for a lot of the races this season. He's got a podium to his name as well. So he's had a good season, and he's been a good qualifier all season long as Brock. We've always seen him at the front in qualifying, but yeah, 20th on the grid is a disaster for him. Same for Jensen as well, down in 18th position, and Nikita. Nikita had such a great qualifying and a pretty decent performance last time out, even though he didn't really get the result he would have wanted from it. He had the great pace the whole time, and he's down in 17th again. So yeah, a lot of people out of position, but yeah, for Denerko, pretty much set in stone now, isn't it? You can see the rain on the circuit. Denerko has got pole position for the second time this season, so we're not going to get another new pole sitter. But yeah, Denerko, great qualifying, and great for him to get the time in early on in the session as well. It just goes to show that it doesn't matter. Sometimes it doesn't matter where you are at the end of the session. You've got to be at the front of the qualifying sessions from very early on as well. And Denerko has proved that with Tom alongside him on the front row. Good lap from the other Mercedes driver.
Yes, basically we had two winners alongside each other as well, looking to add another win to their list. Obviously, Denerko's got more wins than Tom. Tom obviously won in Japan as well. And you can see the chat is very damp. Everyone is pretty much retiring. It's a shame it's a bit of an anti-climatic end to the session, but it just gives more time for people to get their heads together, put their mind to focus on the race ahead, which will be 36 laps. Obviously, we don't know what the weather's going to be like. You never know. It could rain in the race, but I think with a lot of people retiring, that strongly suggests it's not going to rain in the race, because if I was them, and if it was going to rain in the race, I would do a bit of wet practice on the intermediate tyre, just get a bit of a feel for it at the moment. And it has rained, started raining very, very quickly, so waiting for the Maya to go into the pit lane. Hopefully the drivers can either retire or go on track on the Seb Inters. I don't mind which, as long as we don't get a bit of a lull moment. But whilst we do that, saying that, Asako and Mish both on Inters, so at least they want to give us a bit of chat action here this evening. I'm sure more people would want the race to get underway very soon. But hey, yeah, I don't blame them, to be honest, because I know the weather set's for approximate, even though it doesn't say it rains. You never know, it could rain. I've seen that situation in the race on F122 in the past. It said it was going to be dry for the whole session, and then boom, towards the end, Mark was saying rain in 15 minutes, and that caught all of us off guard. So Ascombe not going to brave it out. Oh, we got someone going out of the...
Mish, I think,
It's Mish on the set of the intermediate tyres. Now, I'm not really that surprised. He just wants a bit of... glory, but I don't think he's going to improve. But if it is going to rain in the session, why not get some practice in?
Yeah, exactly. Go out on the track. If there is a chance of rain and it does come, you can go out and just test the wings. Of course, you can't really change much in between qualifying and the race now with Parc Fermé on, but you can change the differential, you can change the front wing, and you can change the tyre pressures. So if he goes out into this qualifying session now and notices any sort of issues, you can make that adjustment for the race if he so wishes to. And I think this is a great opportunity for me now to express my absolute love for the yellow on this Ferrari. I mean, it's great to see this. It's great to see Codemasters including these liveries from now. It makes me more annoyed that we never got the Golf McLaren livery from last year into this game. This does, which I absolutely adore that livery. It makes me sad we never got that. But obviously we saw the white Red Bull livery last season. Now we're seeing this adjusted livery for the Ferrari, and I do hope, like Luke Etheridge has said in the chat, I do hope that Ferrari keep some sort of this yellow on the car for the future, because it is such an iconic Ferrari colour, isn't it? It's obviously their more original colour, it's their moderner colour, it is something that Enzo Ferrari was so adamant about keeping in the Ferrari brand. It's why their logo is yellow, and it's such a beautiful colour, and it's been such a long time as well since we've seen any sort of yellow car on the grid. The last time, of course, was Jordan back in 2005 before they went bust, and that's the last time we've really seen anything yellow on the grid, and it really stands out from the others. If the Ferrari didn't stand out enough already, the yellow makes it stand out even more. So I would love to see Ferrari keep this yellow livery in some way in the future. I think it stands out. I think it looks absolutely brilliant.
I hope they introduce it in next season in F1 2023, because that will be amazing. I think a lot of the fans will like it. There has been some criticism on Twitter that quite a few people didn't like it, but I'm one of the people that loves it. I wasn't sure about it originally, but after seeing it on track, I was like, oh my god, I love it as well. And as Luke was pointing in the chat, the kit had a bit of yellow in it in the early 90s as well. So I'm trying to remember what season it was. I think it also had a bit of the Shell logo on the suit as well, but I think there was more yellow than that as well. And of course we had the yellow car of Renault as well, but to be honest, that was I think before Alpine was. It was before Alpine took over and had the blue, and I kind of missed that. And don't forget the iconic yellow and blue where we saw Fernando Alonso take 2 titles in 2005 and 2006, and I've got to say I really liked those years where we saw Alonso do well in that, and obviously he's back in the sport and still strong as ever, to be fair, at the age that he is, and in a few weeks' time he's going to pass Kimi Raikkonen with the amount of starts ever by a Formula 1 driver, so there we go. But I think we're just waiting for the Maya to either cross the line or go into the pit, and then we can get going for the race. And despite the early end to qualifying, the top 20 separated by just under 0.6 of a second. Closest qualifying here at PSGL F1 this season. And there's loads of Renault liveries that we remember. The ING Renault as well. Yeah. Do not want to talk about that. Crashgate. But anyway, let's go through your results then. And we just saw a glimpse of the suit. I'm glad they brought the suit again to the game. The suit is the best part of the whole thing. But anyway, we've got Denerco from Tom, Ogiano, Namaya, Legend, Ray, Asacombe, Rowan, Philip Valters, Mish, Fabi, Markados, Rudy, Kazizel, H. Eagle, Deso, Chiquita, Jensen, Nam, and Brot. And we got the top 18 separated by 4 tenths. As you were saying earlier, the top 15 separated by just under 2.5 tenths. And then we got the top 20 separated by almost 6 tenths. But no formation lap once again. So before we do go to the race, let's have a quick word from our title sponsor, GT Omega. We'll see you in 30 seconds. Hello and welcome back to PSGL PSF1. We're round number 8 of the championship, and we were wondering on whether it's going to be a dry or wet start to the session. Well, look, the heavens have opened. It was just like the end of qualifying just a moment ago. It is raining, not as much though as we were expecting, but the drivers are going to be on the intermediate tyres. So drivers like Namaya and Mish, who went on the track for a few minutes to go get a gauge for the Inters, well, they probably not regret that decision because they've got to feel what the track's going to be like, whereas everybody else is going to come to it with fresh eyes and they won't have a clue what the braking zones is as well. We got myself and Aidan Carter taking you through the action, and we got a few more rounds to go before the season concludes. It's Danerco that leads the standings by 31 points. Will he be able to extend that very soon? And let us know who you think is going to win the race. If he does well tonight, he could potentially win the title next time out in Jeddah in 2 weeks' time. Wouldn't that be an amazing story to tell? But we know as a mutual, we want the race, the title decided to go to the final round in Silverstone. But, you know, Danerco's had a good season so far, so we'll see what happens happens tonight. No formation lap once again, so we're about to get underway, hopefully, as the 5 red lights are coming up on your screen. We've got Ferrari on the left, Mercedes on the right, just like yesterday in Monza, and we are underway. Let's see who has a decent start out of everybody as they make their way towards turn number 1. It looks like Tom has a better getaway and running towards turn number 1. Be careful, the slippy nature through the centre S's then right now. There's a few people almost going off the circuit. We got Mercedes still in last position right now, but we got Ray going side by side. He's had a good start. Facecam has dropped down a little bit. Ogiano's pretty much stayed position. Dernurko almost got the move again into turn number 4 as Rowan has had a good start as well. He got down the inside of Facecam heading towards turn 4. They're still going to go side by side, heading towards our turn 5. There's huge contact. There's McLaren and Alfa Romeo spun, and that's because it's an H-Eagle, not the way they want to start their race, unfortunately. So Tom's leading, Dernurko second, Ogiano third, Mish and Rudy didn't get to a good start either. We got Jensen and Chiquita going side by side as well. They've got to be careful. It's very, very slippy as well. It's the first time they're used to these conditions, but a few people were caught off guard there at the start, but it was Tom that got the better getaway and leads into turn 1.
Yeah, better get away. Pretty much everybody on the left-hand side of the grid seemed to get a better start. And Maya got a better start than Ogiano as well, but kind of got forced off the road a little bit on the exit of turn 2, as you would expect, so couldn't complete the move. By the way, further down the field, Marcador's a drive-through penalty for a jump start, so you'll see him dive into the pit lane at the end of this lap to serve that penalty. So his race is pretty much over and done with, barring any sort of weather change or safety cars. So he is out of the running as well, which is a real shame to see. We've got side-by-side action here. Rudy versus Mish a bit further down the field for 11th and 12th position. Rudy trying to gain another place in his 13th place grid start, trying to get down the inside. Can he get the move done on the Ferrari on the run down towards the turn 4? He's going to break down the inside. Mish a little bit later on the brakes, kind of squeezes him to the apex, runs wide on the exit, and Rudy on the track fully is going to get the better run at the corner, gets the move done, and is up 2 places. So that little escapade onto the track at the end of qualifying for Mish not really working so far. He's down 2 places, and now he's got Nikita right behind. Going to go for the move down the inside at turn number 8, gets the move down the inside, and it kind of forces his way through a little bit. Mish going to return the favour to the very next corner, and Nikita may have to back out of that one. He doesn't. He sticks it down the inside for turn number 10. He's going to return the favour again at the very next corner. One of these crews is going to have to back out of this move at some point. I think it may have to be Mish on that curb on the inside. No, Nikita's going to drift the car through there. How on earth did he hold on to that and not fully spin? But that was, yeah, that one of them had to back out. Neither of them did, and they both suffered from it. Mish has lost a lot of time, and Nikita's dropped back behind his teammate.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't really want to lose time there by going side by side for very long, but if you want to have fun whilst you're at it, then feel free. It's Jensen now who's trying to go. It's going to be 3 wide, heading towards turn number 1, 4 wide even. Maybe someone has got to back up, and we got the 2 Williams now going side by side. That's Nam and Chiquita. Maybe Jens could join the party as well as they head past the centre S, heading towards turn 3. No DRS activated, remember, because it is the wet conditions, but heading towards turn 4 off the Zia de Largo as Jensen's got a bit squirmy there as well as almost got Jensen into turn 4. We got Rudy and Fabi going side by side heading towards turn 5 as Rudy's got the left and Fabi's got the right hand side. They both want to score some decent points in this race. Rudy is a bit out of position currently because he's second in a championship but only 11th at the moment, and at this stage that would be advantage to Urko, but he had the edge on Fabi in that corner and is in 10th position. Jensen has got past Chiquita. Once again there was a bit of a tap as well. We got Nam Kazido as well. It is all going chaos towards the back of the field, and I'm not sure what's happened. There might be a bit of desync going on because he was ghosting for a little bit on my screen, but hopefully it's all sorted. It's just all so tight towards the end. They want to score as many places as they possibly can, but with these conditions so treacherous at the moment, that any margin for error, then they're going to end up in the wall and they're going to end up out of this race. And for people near the top of the championship, they could be out of the championship fight as Nam once again trying to get past Brock, which he succeeds at the moment. Here comes Brock right now on the edge as he's got both an Alfa Romeo. As we got a spinner of Chiquita in the background. Oh my goodness, there's so much action happening in the space for a few laps. Here comes Brock once again on Nam side by side to Cinder Delago. They make contact a little bit as well as Cazidal tries to squeeze in the middle of that as he heads up the hill towards turn 5. My oh my, I know there's not much happening at the front, but Jesus, the stuff going on in the back is still amazing racing, but these guys, if they squabble about too much, they're gonna lose touch with the guys in front. But they must keep up with the entertainment, I must say, because this is incredible.
Yeah, it's great racing at the back of the field. It's chaotic, but nothing crazy has really happened so far. Jensen has got a bit of front wing damage, by the way, so he is going to struggle a bit for pace as Brock and H-Eagle run side by side down the hill. Brock's off the road and H-Eagle gets the move done back on the Mercedes driver, but you can see how much time they've lost further down the field. Further up the field, by the way, the two Aston Martins getting very close together. Legend trying to find a way through on the Maya. And the one thing I'm interested about here, Tom is disappearing at the front of this field. He's got a 1.7 second lead over Dinerco, who is now under pressure from Orgiano and the two Astons behind. So in these intermediate conditions, at least, Dinerco is struggling just that little bit to keep up with the car in front. Has he got a setup on that's maybe more suited to dry conditions if it turns to dry conditions in this race, and he's just going to take the pain now and gain later on? Or is this Dinerco's true race pace? Is he just really struggling in these conditions? Orgiano looks so much more comfortable in that Haas. Is he going to try a dive bomb move? No, he's not close enough, but he hits the back of Dinerco into the corner. Yeah, Dinerco at the moment really, really struggling for grip. I wonder, because it's not particularly wet and the rain's not coming down that much, I wonder whether he's just overheating those intermediate tyres just a little bit.
Yeah, potentially as well, because these drivers know that having too much tyre pressure on this game can force your tyre temperatures to go through the roof. Run it as low as you possibly can in these wet conditions and you shouldn't have any problem at all. But even in the wet conditions, the tyre temps can fluctuate a little bit, and it's how you manage them at this moment in time. So we're heading towards lap 6 of 36, and as you can see, Tom again pulling away. He's gained a second that lap because Dinerco was struggling with the likes of Orgiano then. So we'll see what Orgiano could do as we head towards the next section of the track as well, as he's managing his ERS as well. You don't use much ERS in the wet conditions. You recharge a lot in the wet. Luckily, as Orgiano stays behind Dinerco for now. I think the gaps are starting to stabilise a little bit. I think it's all calmed down, which is good for us, but we will possibly see some more moves coming up soon as we head to the pit stop phase. Now, realistically, the intermediates can't get to the end, but on this game, Orgiano has got past Dinerco, though. He's massively struggling on those inches, and that is definitely showing. Orgiano up into second place, and that could be huge for the championship. I know he's going to be ahead of his main championship rivals, but Tom is catching in the championship. We got Nemaya and Legend. As soon as I said it's calmed down, boom, there's lots of action going on as well. So I better shut up on that front, as Legend is going to try and get past Nemaya. And that is the golden rule that you should not do. Do not take out your teammate. And look what Legend just done. He's took out his teammate of Nemaya. We saw that in F2 as well, but less dramatic scenes that we saw here as Nemaya trying to go side by side with Ray heading towards turn number 1. No, it's not Nemaya, it's Legend actually. We're riding on board with Nemaya at the moment. And Rowan is right on the back as well. He almost got past the Aston Martin as well, but to no avail. And I think there was more action at the moment. Whoa, Nemaya trying to go for a double over, taking the Cena to Lager. Can he make it stick? Nope, he does not, as Rowan tries to cover him off there. Heading towards turn 4, heading towards turn 5 now, as we've got Ascombe, I think, going to be a bit worried, as we've got Valters off the track. I don't think he's got damage though. Fabi's gone off the track as well. Yeah, that is a bit of a shame there from Valters, losing a lot of time there. But the Aston Martins are really giving it everything, and change of order once again. And Dinerco is starting to drop back a little bit. And even Legend's catching up to him now. Could this be the sign of things to come for Dinerco? Maybe he's just waiting for the rain to dry up, if at all.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of right now for Dinerco. This is a very un-Dinerco kind of performance, isn't it? He usually qualifies not on pole, and then he drives his way to the front, but he's doing the opposite today. He's qualified at the front, and is dropping back through the field at the moment, which is really bizarre. You've never really seen this from Dinerco. So the only thing I can think of is he's got the car fully set up for dry conditions and is waiting for it to dry out, or there's some sort of damage on that Ferrari that we can't quite see that he is struggling with at the moment. That's the only explanation I can really think of with the pace that Dinerco's got at the moment. By the way, Nemaya made contact with Philip Wouters there on the entry into Ferradura. That is why Philip Wouters went off the track. He's trying to go around the outside. It was kind of into an ever-closing clap, and he kind of went off the track in avoidance pretty much, but no damage, and it's let Rudy through. So Rudy up into ninth, despite not feeling too well and with a broken paddle shift. He's up 4 places and into 9th, so it doesn't seem to be slowing him down too much at the moment in that Alpine, up 4 places already. He's up the second most places of anybody in the grid. The other person that's up the most places is his teammate Jensen, who's up 5 at the moment in 13th, but he's being re-caught by Kazizel, who's recovering from that earlier spin. So, and they're actually just about to reignite that battle at the back of the field once again by the looks of things. They all kind of split off into packs of 5, and then those packs of 5 just kind of start battling with each other like crazy, and then they calm themselves down for a couple of laps.
But a few spinners, a bit of contact.
Yeah.
That was not Deso, H Eagle has gone off as well. Deso almost had a bit of a moment, as you were saying there as well. And yeah, you're right. There's so many DRS trains happening at the moment. As soon as one person makes a mistake, everyone else wants to try and capitalise, go for moves, and sometimes it does not pay off at all. And on some occasions, it does work, as we're going to try and see more people starting to go for moves. Now, as I was saying before, there was battles happening left, right and centre. These inters, you can take it to the end if you want to, but it won't last to the very end in terms of the data as well. But if you want to go on to another set of inters now, you can, and that should be absolutely fine. There'll be no problem at all, as we've got Legend now on the back of Dernierko. He's going to go for a send. Oh, they almost made contact there. They both tried to leave as much space they possibly can as well, as Ray may answer to this, as well as more contact is being made. How is that not an instant there, as that was almost instant once again. You can see how difficult the conditions are with the sliding that's happening everywhere as well. We'll see what Ray could do. Rowan on the attack with Ascombe as well, heading towards Jung Sao, as there's battles happening all over the show, as we've got Jensen and Kazizel going everywhere right now. But let's keep an eye on Dernierko then. He's got 36% of battery, but Legend has got 14%. So Dernierko's got the advantage at the moment, but we're going to see Ray trying to capitalise on both of them, side by side into turn 1. We'll see if Dernierko has the upper hand. Looks like Ray is going to have the upper hand, and it stands. Don't forget, he started in F2 this season, but he's lost a bit of pace and grit right now in that McLaren. Ascombe has decided to see, you know what, if you don't go for the move on Dernierko, I'm going to try and go for the move on Dernierko. But he doesn't, as Ray gets that place back, goes back into 5th place. But for how much longer then, as Ascombe on the left-hand side then, has the gradient is so difficult in these wet conditions that any margin of error, like we saying, could cause in a spin and a trip to the grass. And there's more grasses and gravel traps around Interlagos, as Rowan going side by side with Ascombe once again into this tricky middle part of this lap then, as Rowan to the right hand side then. Can he able to hold his line on the traction as well, because these drivers are running no assist of course, as Rowan gets past up into 6th place. So again, battling happening left, right and centre, and I'm absolutely loving it. But the danger is, if these guys carry on just for a little bit, then they're going to possibly drop back even more when it comes to the pit stops. Meanwhile, Jensen is on the attack now on Kazizel, but Kazizel's gained a bit more time there as well. You're starting to see which drivers are designed setups for the corners and which drivers design setups for the speed. There's a little bit of a balancing act as well, as Ascombe trying to get past the Maya, but we're going to try and see Jensen going side by side into turn 1. He's not leaving much space there as well, so it's a bit risky. Yellow flag. Now that is Nemaya.
Rudy and Nemaya.
Rudy and Nemaya made contact. Now that's definitely going to be a trip to the stewards there, and yellow flag set to 1 and 2. So yeah, they can't overtake as of yet. Rudy has dropped down to 17th position. Now his night has gone from bad to worse, but again, we're not going to judge things too much. It'll definitely be up to the stewards there.
Yeah, I was just riding aboard actually with Rudy in that when he was trying to capitalise on the battle between Ascombe and Nemaya, trying to get round the outside of turn number 3 onto the back straight, and he just kind of got run out of room on the exit, and they both went off the track and into the barrier. Amazed they both got away with it, but the damage for Nemaya, and I'm not surprised if there's damage for Rudy as well. They'll be into the pit lane potentially for a change of front wing. So yeah, a real disaster. And now it's kicked off this battle at the back again, as now Markados has hit Yakita round at the back of the field, and that is Yakita that's now spun. Markados, by the way, came in for a drive-through penalty and was 12 seconds back. These guys have been battling so much that he's caught them on raw pace. That is how much this back half of the field has been battling in these last 10 or so laps, that he's been able to recover from a drive-through penalty and catch this train as there's more contact going on. My oh my, it's getting a bit spicy now as Ascombe decides to pit early here. So Asicone pitting early for another set of intermediate tyres, to me, suggests we're not going to get dry conditions in this race. That suggests to me that he is going to the end of this race on this set of tyres and he just wants to get out of the traffic and get some clean air. But by pitting that early, he's put himself at the back of this train that have been fighting like crazy for the past 10 laps. So I feel like Asicone's almost shot himself in the foot there by trying to undercut drivers around him. He's actually put himself potentially in a battle that's going to slow him down even more.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the danger around this track. One of the shortest laps on the calendar, the other laps that are quite short on this calendar is Austria, of course, which we saw at the beginning of the season as well, and we saw how that race ended up as well. We will cast our eye to that. Valtters actually won that race, and at the moment he's currently sitting in P7, so not a track that suits his characteristics at the moment, but you never know, there could be some carnage at the back and he could be up there near the front as well. So Ray once again is going to be on the counter attack to try and get past Danerco. Once again he's going to go for a late move there as well, but decided to back out because otherwise there would have been even more contact, and I think Ray wouldn't be a happy bunny, neither would Danerco right now as well. His teammates having a fight with Mish as well, so it's McLaren's versus Ferrari's here at Brazil right now, and I think it looks like Ferrari's on top on one battle and a McLaren is on top of another battle as well, and we got Rowan 4 attempts back as well, as Ray almost going side by side to turn 5 in towards turn 6 there as well. That was very tight for the McLaren driver. Ooh, almost a bit squirmy from all three drivers there. Danerco, Ray and Rowan almost had a bit of coming together. Thank goodness it didn't end up into a bit of a pile-up, because imagine what scenes it would have brought in the stewards room if that happened, as Ray, I think, starting to struggling with his overheating with these intermediate tyres, or maybe his tyre deg is proving to be a bit of an issue, because Rowan is catching up once again. And will we start to see Danerco fight back and pull away a little bit? He is starting to pull away, so I think Ray is just struggling with his overheating, or maybe he's just having a rubbish time management right now.
Yeah, I'm really baffled by this lack of pace from Danerco. I don't think we've ever seen a performance like this from Danerco. He's been so strong all season long and either been held back by damage or just got a penalty in the stewards room. That's the only things that have really held him back so far this season. But yeah, today he's just got no pace in these intermediate conditions. Riding on board with Ray, you can see in the middle of turn 3 that Danerco just cannot put the power down. He's just so slow to the throttle, and Ray nearly ran into the back of him through turn 3 last time round, and that is why he couldn't get the move done down to Ciudad del Lago, because he had to back out of turn 3 to make sure he didn't hit the Ferrari in the first place. So yeah, Danerco really struggling for traction at this point in the race, and Ray and Rowan climbing all over the back of them. Philip Wouters and Fabi now both catching them as well. So I think Rowan out of this group seems to be the fastest of the lot of them, but just can't find a way through at the moment, it seems. And Kazizel, by the way, having spun at the very start of this race, has managed to climb his way through that carnage of a pack at the very back, all the way from the back of the field up to 9th, and is now in 10 seconds of clean air. So what a great recovery this has been so far for Kazizel to get back up into 9th place, and we're not even halfway through this race and with no safety car interference at all. So great recovery so far from Kazizel, as I'm seeing Asicone now. Fastest lap of the race last time out. He's now caught this train of cars and is going to start to work his way through them. But H Eagle's not making it easy for him. He's going to hold the inside line into Zheng Zhao, and Asicone's going to have to go all the way around the outside. But yeah, superior grip even on only 12 lap fresher intermediate tyres. That's not a massive difference, but you can see there Asicone is just able to drive clean around the outside of the Alfa Romeo. So fresh intermediates definitely making a difference in terms of pace as this battle pack in front starts to heat up once again. Brock's trying to work his way through from the back of the field. He's up to 12th position. Deso passes Marcados as well as up into 14th. So the battle resumes once again at the back of the field. They're all squabbling once again.
I think this just shows why they deserve to be in PSGL PSF1, because the amount of racing these drivers are producing at the moment, it is just... This tier is just super close in terms of pace around qualifying. It was separated by around about almost 6 tenths, and this is all a DRS train from, I would say, Jensen all the way down to H Eagle, and then we got DRS trains from from Danerco all the way down to Philip Vowles as well. And then we got the likes of Tom, Orgiano and Legend. They're running away into the distance right now. They don't care what's going on because they've got a bit of clean air, as we're seeing Marcados going for a move there on Nam as well. Marcados has really got to have a chance to redeem himself after some disappointing showings as of late, but he's getting a lot better in terms of his race pace. He's a little bit more patient in terms of racecraft, but let's just hope he doesn't get involved into spin at the moment. As Markados there, and he's going to go and take the short run. He almost cut the pit lane entry line there, but he was not going to go into the pit lane. And speaking of pit lane, Deso comes in for a scheduled stop, and if it stays like this, they don't have to pit, remember, but he wants to be on fresh tyres that can possibly get to the end of this Grand Prix, and I think that will be intermediate tyres for the AlphaTauri driver. He is reserving of course, and we'll see if he can improve on his finish, because he didn't score any points in the races he reserved for, but at least he finished those races. But at the moment he's down in 18th, which is not where he would want to be, but this is a tier with high caliber drivers that are looking to get into F1 esports in the future. As Asakone, can he get past Nam? Not quite. Namaya's trying to make up for lost time as he's got past Deso, so the warmer tyres for Namaya is definitely helping out at the moment. But Tom again has just found a whole second on Orgiano that lap. He is loving life at the front. He's took the leader in lap 1 and he is staying there. But this is a race against himself at this point, because we've seen quite a few drivers in PSGL lead for the majority of the race and then lose it in the final few laps. Let's hope it doesn't happen to Tom.
Yeah, let's not curse him at this point in the race, shall we? We'll try and keep the curse away, as Ray's finally got the move done now.
Oh, no, he doesn't!
Dropped it on the curb, gets on the curb, beaches the car
Speaking
and spins out.
That is,
yeah, speaking of curses, that is so easy to do around that corner, and just a lapse of concentration there for Ray. Beached himself on the outside curb and spun. That is... yeah, it's so easy to do. Just a lapse in concentration, and Ray has dropped the car from P4 and he's now down to P8. So, yeah, that is a disaster for Ray. He's dropped well off the back of the drivers in front of him now. So, yeah, that is a real disaster. And, yeah, I'm just looking at the rest of these drivers on these strategies there. Asacomb's not working his way through this traffic as quickly as I thought he would on these intermediate tyres, but we're seeing the likes of Namaya and Rudy set fastest laps of the race down towards the back of the field. I think a fresh set of intermediate tyres will do you very nicely in this race if you can get onto them in some clean air. So I'll be shocked if we see anybody get all the way to the end, as Markador's now going for another move, this time on Brock, trying to go round the outside. Not going to quite get the move done, I don't think. He's going to back out of it and wait for a better opportunity, but fair play to Markador's. Obviously jumped the start at the very start of this race, got a drive-through penalty, but fell all the way to the back and 12 seconds off the pack, and has managed to drive his way to this pack and is now working his way through this pack one by one, picking them off and getting closer and closer to the points. So it's not out of the question that even with a drive-through penalty and no safety car interference, Markados has the pace here to take a point, which would be a great race for him. He obviously was having a great race last time out and then had a horrible end to the race where he spun out of contention. So he's definitely starting to find his rhythm in this championship, and he's starting to work his way forwards just that little bit. Ray into the pit, not a surprise. After that spin, I think he may have potentially picked up some damage. And Orgiano as well came into the pit lane from second place. So Tom now leads by 8 seconds over second place. Orgiano comes out of the pit lane just ahead of Kazizel in some nice clean air, so he can push. I wonder if Tom will react to that.
Yes, and we've seen in F2 that the overcut has been more powerful, and we've seen in many races in F1 this season that quite a few people chose to stay up for a few more laps than intended to get the advantage on their rivals, which is a more common thing on this game potentially as well. So we will see the gap start to come down, and we'll see how many laps Tom will potentially stay out, if at all. As well as according to our data, the intermediate tyres could last the same amount of time as the hards, around about 27 laps. So unless it's a safety car, I'm almost certain that Tom will have to come in at the moment. The pit lane lost time, including coming into the pit, is around about 19 seconds. So quite a short pit lane entry and exit there, and it just gives quite a lot of people to push, and that's why potentially when we saw people pitting, it didn't take that long for them to get back into those trays. And speaking of pit lane, once again, Markados and Brock are also in as well, and we're starting to see people really starting to push a bit more on their in-laps to make sure they stay ahead of their rivals coming out of the pit lane, because we could see a potential undercut for some of these drivers that could potentially work, as well as we've got a few championship rivals in the pits. We've got Dernerko, Valters as well, quite close. Valters, don't forget, is currently sitting P2 in the standings. If Valters finishes ahead of Dernerko in this race, then he could close in on this championship, and maybe it could not be decided in the Jeddah. It may be decided in a few more races time potentially as well, so that could change things massively as Asako goes side by side with Jensen Johnson, and he's up to 10th place. And speaking of pit lane once again, Tom has decided to not leave it a moment longer as Tom goes in for a fresh set of boots to get to the end of the Grand Prix. And his motto now is he's going to absolutely push until the end to see if he can hold on to the winner of this Grand Prix. And it's looking like it's going to be comfortable for now. But what would you do if you were Legend and Dinerco? Would you stay out or would you come in?
I think if you're Legend, I would stay out, I would say, because he's got a buffer of 4 cars behind him at the moment that he could use almost as a stoppage to Tom getting through. So if you're a Legend, maybe, take the risk and try and stay out. And if there's a late safety car, pit then. But like you say, I doubt we're going to see everybody get to the end of this race on those intermediate tyres. And we're already seeing from a lot of other drivers just how fast a fresh set of intermediate tyres are. So I don't think people can leave it too long. I mean, Oggiano's pretty much half the gap between himself and Tom in just 2 laps on a fresh set of intermediate tyres. And those old set of intermediate tyres are only going to get worse as the race goes on. So I feel like these drivers here may be a little bit of a sitting duck. But if Tom gets stuck behind the likes of Fabian Philipp-Walters and can't find a way through easily, Legend has a buffer that he can use and he could stay out and try and hold on to that lead. So, and of course, Legend's a reserve. He's got nothing to lose. He's not fighting for a championship. He's not fighting really for manufacturer's points. Why not take the risk? He can go for a win if he wants to, and he could be the first reserve to win a race this season. It'll be definitely interesting to see what he does. See if he can do something a little bit different and try and do that. As Rowan's decided to come into the pit lane, I'm not surprised. He's got good pace, and I think he wants to just get out of that train and get some free air. And that's the same thing that I think Marquinhos and Brock wanted to do. They wanted to get into the pit lane and take a fresh set of tyres before the likes of Misch and Jensen. They definitely seem to be faster. Jensen had a front wing change as well, so I think Marquinhos and Brock wanted to jump them so that they could get within the points range.
Yeah, definitely as well. So we'll see where Rowan comes in relation to some of the drivers, as we're I think starting to see that he may get behind some traffic, which is not what he wants. Ideally, you want to come out in clear air, and this is not ideal considering the likes of Legend is staying out, as we've got an Alpine that's binned it. Rudy, unfortunately, today's gone from bad to worse and he's not feeling so well. So I won't be surprised if he retires the car in the pit lane, which is, to be fair, I think the sensible thing to do in this situation. It's Misch and Rowan having a bit of a ding-dong battle. Rowan's on cold tyres, don't forget, and it's going to be even colder in these intermediate conditions on fresher tyres. And Rowan just had the edge there, as Rudy, as I was saying, has retired from the pit lane. Rudy, if you're watching this, mate, get better soon. Hopefully you'll be fighting fresh in 2 weeks' time when we go racing once again in Jeddah. He's our first retirement of this Brazilian Grand Prix, and one retirement so far, which is great to see, as we're seeing lots of people having some very great races, as we got Brock under pressure from an Aston Martin versus an Alfa Tauri. Now, Aston Martin used to be known as Racing Point back in the day, Force India as well. Lots of teams have been represented by Aston Martin, not doing very well in real life, of course. It's been some races this season where Williams have done a lot better, but we're seeing Aston Martin having the better straight line speed on the Mercedes currently as they head towards turn number 1, but he's going to decide to go and stay behind the Mercedes. He's not doing too well on his ERS though, as neither is Brock, so I think these two are going to be sitting duck and forced to be saving ERS until the potential moment, and saying that Lamar just uses his ERS on the straight, so it shows how much I know about ERS management around Brazil as well. The only 2 people to get penalties, by the way, are H. Eagle and Chiquita. They're stuck with a battle with Misch right now, so that could get interesting as well. And if you're liking this action, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell if you are new, and also hit that like button. I know I just said that, but I forgot that I just said it. And also make sure you check out our sponsors, as H. Eagle has hit the back of Nam almost as well. I'll talk about our sponsors in a minute, as this battle, I think, is going to get even more intense. And this is for the battle for the points. Now, I know some people have penalties, but they want to fight for it to like a cricket at the moment. H. Eagle has gone for a double overtake. Can he make it work? Oh, not quite, can he? Heading towards the centre exit.
He does.
Yes, he does. I have to say, this is one of the best moves I've seen in Brazil. We saw a similar move in F2, but this time H. Eagle has made it sit, and I know he's got a penalty, but on track at least, he is on course to be getting some more points this season, and that could be a really good streak. He's got to try and pull away now from this pack and see if he could get his first point of the season, but don't forget, he may still have to pit, but That was, I have to say, incredible. I'll talk about the sponsors in a minute, but let's reflect on that battle that Eagle just did. He had nothing to lose because he's at the bottom of the championship, so why not go for the move? And already, he's a second clear of Mish. That was amazing.
Yeah, that was a brilliant move. Really committed there from Eagle as well. And fair play to Mish and Nam for giving him the space to be able to pull that off as well. Mish was really slow in a straight line at the end of that straight. So, yeah, very bizarre there to see that pace differential. But, yeah, brilliant move from Eagle to get up into 10th. We'll see if he can cling on to a points finish at the moment. That penalty obviously not going to help him whatsoever. But, yeah, we'll keep an eye on that one as Rowan, fastest driver on the track at the moment. Not a surprise on the freshest set of intermediate tyres in the field at the moment. By the way, Tom is now starting to catch the back of Fabi. By the way, we've completely ignored in this race, but Fabi is having by far his best race of the season, you've got to say, running up in 4th position. Trying to cling onto the back of Janerko and Philip Brounters, but not quite having the pace, but still 4th place at the moment. Better than we've seen from him all season long. Tom is catching, but even more crucially than that, Oggiano is catching Tom. Oggiano seems the faster of the two on this fresh set of intermediate tyres. He's got the gap down to 1.6, and now that Tom is on the back of Fabi, if he gets held up even slightly, Oggiano will be on the back of him and ready to have an attack. So Tom can't get too complacent in this race now. He can't assume that these drivers in front are going to pit. He's going to have to make these moves on track as quickly as he can to make sure that Oggiano doesn't catch. So yeah, keep an eye out for Tom now to try and get these moves done as quickly as he possibly can. He's using a lot of his ERS down the pit straight, and look at the straight line speed difference between the two of them. There's no DRS in play here. This is all about straight line speed. Tom going to go round the outside. The inside was open for him there. He decided not to take it. Maybe he's going to go for the move down towards the Cedar de Largo. Is he going to get the run though through turn 3? I don't think he is. He didn't get on the power very well through turn 3. He's going to have to make it a bit of a dive bomb move into turn 4, and he's not going to do it. He had an open opportunity down the inside, and he decided against it, went for the outside, and instead didn't get the move done. So I feel like Tom there was a little bit too kind in not going for the move, and that's just cost him a little bit of time. By the way, who said you can't race in wet conditions on this game? It's always been the narrative, hasn't it, that you can't race in the wet on these games because it is so difficult without DRS. This race has proved everybody wrong. This race has been outstanding from start to finish. Tom now goes around the outside of Fabi in the middle part of the lap, going to use the superior grip of those fresh intermediate tyres to get the move done there into Pinarino. But yeah, maybe a little bit longer than he would have wanted, but he is through now and up into 4th place.
I have to say, that was incredible racing between Tom and Fabi there, and Tom using the fresher grip to his advantage as well. But let's just say Fabi has liked this track in the past. Remember in season 29, he won the F2 title around Brazil. He was no way. He had the outside shot of the title, but he pulled some brilliant defensive moves to actually take that title as well on the final lap. So Fabi has had some really good history around it, and he's looking to repeat that history tonight. I know it won't be for a title, but wouldn't it be amazing if he can have a top 5 finish at one of his favourite tracks on this game? And who knows, if any of the top 3 have a bit of a squabble, he could be on for a podium potentially as well, and he's even still closing in on Tom still, so he still has the pace, even though Fabi's on 25 lap old inters, which shows that his time management is impeccable, and he's got 46% battery as well on his ERS, so he's managing his ERS perfectly as well. All this is doing is helping Fabi and Tom catch up to Philip Bowers and Danerco. Same with Oggiano as well on this train. We literally don't know who's going to win this race, and I think this is one of the best races I've ever commentated on in a while in the wet conditions, and I think this is the pinnacle of league racing at PSGL PlayStation as well. And most of these guys will potentially be competing in challenges next season with the F1 2023 esports series, and quite a few people also race on the PC side as well. And we can see a battle for second place at the moment as Danerco just about covers off Bowers, the second place of 2 championship protagonists in this title battle, both in Ferrari powered cars. And Oggiano has got Tom to fight with at the moment as well, and Fabi. But Fabi, I think, has been left for dust here at the moment as he's been passed by Oggiano there, heading towards past the centre S's. And speaking of the Cedar Largo, we've got Valters just about gets Danerco for second place in right now. And is he going to be able to close in on Legend? And the danger is, if Tom gets caught and doesn't get past Valters and Danerco, well, the gap is not even going to be enough when Legend comes out of the pits for Tom to be ahead of them. Legend could come out ahead of the race lead. So Legend may be thinking, right, if I stay out and put on the best tyre wear, so around about lap 31, 32, I can get a free pit stop, and then there'll be no problem at all. But you don't really want to take that risk, or maybe it could be a late safety car, or maybe the heavens could open, there could hardly be any rain, and it could dry up, and you could go on the soft tyres. Who knows? Anything can happen in Formula 1, and it usually does. And here we go. Tom is just showing his pure grip and pace on these pressure inters. He's got past Dernurco there as well. And yeah, he's losing a bit of time now, Dernurco, unfortunately. But Tom at the moment is on for a podium, and he could be on for P2 right now as we head towards turn 4 once again. Is he going to go for it? He's got EOS to use play with as well, because Idle has had a bit of a moment with Mish, it looks like, heading towards the final corner. So Fizz gone from bad to worse there, as well as Ray has got past Chiquita there up to 11th place. So not that long to go until the end of the race. Do you think Legend can hold on for that race win, or will it be Tom's to win? Well, you'll find out very, very soon.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Tom obviously dominating the first half of this race, but Legend is doing a very good job on these old intermediate tyres. He's saved all of his ERS pretty much. He's not pushing too hard and wearing out the tyres. Tom is getting a little bit stuck now behind Philip Wouters. He's got to get the move done now to give himself enough time to catch Legend and then go for the move, of course. A 7-second gap is a lot of time to gain, even on a fresh set of intermediate tyres. As Dernurco has had a half spin. I don't know if that was with help from contact, but Dernurco with a rare mistake there and has gone round at Jung Zhao. He's dropped behind Ogiano and Farby as well. So Dernurco down to 6th as Tom's going to go round the outside. The straight line speed that Tom has in these wet conditions is insane. He is running a very fast car in a straight line, and he's just blitzed past Philip Wouters on the run down towards turn number 1. Ogiano as well gets past Farby at the same breath and is up into P4. So Tom now in second. He's got 6.5 seconds to gain in about 8 laps. It's doable, but when he gets the Legend, he's got to get the move done pretty quickly. So we'll see what Tom can do in terms of that. Championship-wise, by the way, as well, this isn't too much of a worry for Dernurco, because it's not like Philip Wouters is winning this race or looking like capable of winning this race. But he is losing points to Philip Wouters in this championship as it stands. And I think Rudy's going to be even more gutted that he had the pace here to beat Dernurco and wasn't able to take hold of the opportunity. So yeah, Dernurco is going to be losing championship points here. Not to Rudy, though. It's going to be Philip Wouters who's going to be the one gaining on him by the looks of things.
Yeah, it looks like, doesn't it, as well? And I think Wouters has picked a really good moment of this championship to be the one to gain point on his championship rival. The only race he won was in round 1 in Austria, and he hasn't won since then. Maybe there has been some people in real life Formula 1 that has had a really good start to the season and hasn't had a really good middle to the season, but at the end is where he starts to get strong again. And Tom just picked up the fastest lap of this race, a 1:14.4 now. We've got about 6 laps to go of this Brazilian Grand Prix. 5.6 seconds is the gap, and he's got to basically gain a second per lap to close in onto Legend on the final lap. Can he do it? Now, that is going to be the question I'm going to be asking in the chat. Now, I did ask who was going to win last week, and it kind of blown up in my face. So, this week, I'm going to say, will Tom catch up to Legend before the end of the race, and will he be on course to take the win of the race? I'll get that question typed up in the chat. You can also check out our sponsors whilst you do that. Grid Rival as well. We've got a Fantasy League, which is a prediction league happening at the moment. If you go on to premiersimgl.com/Grid Rival, link is in the description. It's not too late to join that as well. Some early favourites as well once again. And also, you can check out our title sponsor GT Omega by using PSGL at checkout for 5% off GT Omega products, and click the link in the description. And me and Aiden are currently sitting on those chairs at the moment, and they're very, very comfy, by the way. So thank you very much to GT Omega for gifting those chairs to our top tier commentators. And I think Wouters is suddenly realising the pressure he is facing on older tyres, because Ogiano is catching him like a hawk. But it looks like Wouters is not going to make it too easy for Ogiano at this moment in time. So we'll have to wait and see what he can do, as he's got less ERS to play with as well. And, you know, this is probably shaping up to be a classic race in the history books for PSGL. Doesn't look like it's going to dry up, though. So the ones that are staying out on the intermediate tyres, you're going to have to stay out at this point, because otherwise you're going to have to be on well, you're probably going to drop down to the back of the field. As yellow flag, that is Mish that's had a bit of a moment, unfortunately. What a shame.
Yeah, had a spin coming onto the pit straight, unfortunately. So his race, he was running at the bottom end of the points, and it's just kind of fallen apart, unfortunately for him, in the last few laps, which is a shame to see. But I don't know if Tom has enough pace here. We've got 5 laps to go, and Tom is running in the mid-14s at the moment, which is pretty decent lap times, mid to high 14s. But Legend is doing his personal best of the race now. Now that Tom has got the move done and up into second, Legend all of a sudden is setting his personal best. And there you go, a 15.2 for Legend on 31 lap old tyres is by far his personal best of the race. And Tom was only 0.3 of a second faster. That is nowhere near enough for Tom to catch Legend before the end of this race. Legend, of course, has also saved up so much ERS battery in this time that he can use to help him pull along in these straights and get a better lap time. So I don't think Tom's got enough here. I think Tom's going to have to hope almost for a puncture from Legend on these tyres for him to win this race. Of course, there is a high risk that Legend could get a puncture by the end of this race, considering the fact he's not pitted. But if it's based on pure pace at this point in the race, I don't think Tom's got enough. Tom, to me, doesn't have enough pace to win this on pure speed. He's got to have to hope for either a mistake or some sort of problem for Legend, as Ogiana's going to send it down the inside of Philip Wouters for the final spot on the podium, and Wouters just doesn't have the grip left on his intermediate tyres to fight back. Ogiana's up into third, Wouters is down to 4th position, but yeah, to me, as it stands, Tom's not doing enough. He's not closing in enough. He's not matching his own personal best, while Legend is setting his best lap times of the race.
There we go, and let's look at the position gains then, whilst we see the positions change quite a bit here, as we've got Brock, Namai and Chiquita going for it for 14th position, as we've got Fabi that's gained the most out of the top 5, up 6, Philip Wouters up 5, Legend up 4, but the ones who gained the most positions of this race is the one who's going to get the final point as it stands, Nam in that Williams up 9, the man who has had some bad luck as reserve this season, DNFing in the last 2 races, not scoring any points. Looks like he's going to get 2 points this season, which in this race, which I have to say will be very, very good. Saying that, I pretty much just jinxed that, as Ray just got past Nam up into 10th position, but I think he's still going to get at least 1 point as long as he can stay within touching distance of H Eagle with that penalty then. And yeah, 3.9 seconds with Tom and Legend, I don't think it's going to be enough. But looking at the poll results at this moment in time, I will get it up. I just had the stream closed, which was very, very annoying. But it looks like everybody is voting against Tom catching up to Legend this race. So it's 75% of you think so. But 25 are going a bit more optimistic, thinking that Tom could catch up. But yeah, but what's going to help Tom at this stage is he's going to have a... No, he's not going to get DRS. Obviously, there's no DRS, but if it was in the dry conditions, what was going to help Tom was the DRS from the lapped cars, but he's not going to have that to contend with at the moment. But yeah, and if a few people are wondering, oh, do these guys have to pit on intermediate conditions if you started on them? No, you don't have to. If the race stays like this throughout the entire thing, these guys do not have to come in for another set of the intermediate tyres. They can go on to the end of this race if they want to. We could be in for a grandstand finish, but it doesn't look like it as it stands. But if Legend wins the race on the tyre he started on, then that will be a drive of the day performance from the Aston Martin driver.
Yeah, definitely will be. It's looking that way at the moment as well, isn't it? He's doing a brilliant job, and yeah, 2.5 laps to go. It's looking like only a puncture at this point in the race is going to stop Legend from winning this race. And like I say, what a performance it will be if he can hold on to that one as well. In the end, Dinerco having probably, I would say, his poorest race of the season, isn't actually going to lose out too much in the championship, because Wouters is only 2 places ahead, and of course mid top 10 you don't really gain that many places, that many points by finishing 4th instead of 6th. I think it's only like a 4-point difference, so it's not really going to make too much of an indent in the lead of Dinerco's championship. It will make it a bit harder for him to win next time out in Jeddah, but I think Dinerco doesn't worry too much about that. I don't think he's too fussed about when he wins it, as long as he wins it. So
yes.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye. But as I was saying, it's going to take a puncture from Legend. Tom, all of a sudden on that lap, was so much faster than Legend, and the gap's now down to 2 seconds. So we'll see, but there's only 2 laps to go. I wonder if Legend is just easing off a little bit now. We've got a yellow flag. That is, I think, for Mish again, who's just made a bit of a mistake.
No, he's getting lapped. He's getting lapped.
Yeah. He's getting lapped and moving out the way, which is why that yellow flag is out there. So that is nothing to do with our front runners. And just looking further down the field, Ray managed to get past H-Eagle on track, so he's not relying on the penalty in the end. He is now up into 9th, but he is now 17 seconds behind the next car. That's how much this field has spread out in this race. Nam is still clinging on to that final point as it stands, but they're both being caught by Markados and Kazizel, who could potentially steal that final point away from Nam here. So he's going to have to try and cling on maybe to that final points position. Jung's out to go, and then he's on to the final lap. Is Legend. The gap's down to 1.8. Tom's not close enough. It's going to have to be a mistake or a puncture for Legend to lose this, and Legend will become our new winner in this championship and the first reserve driver to win the championship if he can hold on.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. 1.4 is the gap as well. Anything can happen as well. He's definitely pushing, isn't he? He was saving his pace and energy for this final run, but will it be too little, too late? And I have to agree, all it would take is for Legend to either spin or get a puncher for Legend to lose this one. So Tom really has got to step up his A game. It could be a photo finish as well, and Legend's got even more ERS to use, so I think at the moment it's advantage Legend, but you never know. He's starting to struggle a little bit. He's calling a little bit more than Tom is right now, so this could be the moment that Tom is looking for at the moment. Even Legend could get a penalty at this moment in time as well as they head towards this next section of corners, this tricky set of corners for the final time. Then who's going to win? Is it Legend or is it Tom? We won't know until they both cross the checker flag, but who's going to cross the checker flag first remains to be seen. Tom has caught up massively on this final lap. He's 0.5 of a second and there's no DRS. He's saving his ERS for this moment. This could be a photo finish here as we head towards Zhongzhou for the final time. This could be huge for any one of them. Legend could be on course to be winning his first race of the season, but can Tom spoil it? We'll have to wait and see. Final corner, start, finish straight. I don't think it's going to be enough. Legend wins here in Brazil on 36 lap old tyres since the start by 0.2 of a second. If it was one more lap, Tom could have had it, but Legend just about hold on. I have to say, driver of the day, worthy performance for the Aston Martin driver. Orgiano takes the podium, which is very impressive. He's had no connection issues this race either, so I have to say that was pretty incredible. Valtters gains ahead of Danerka there, but Fabry by far his best performance of the season. Another driver as well as Valtters and Danerka managing to hold on to the end, but Valtters and Fabry more standout performances as well. Azakova in 7th, Rowan in 8th, Ray in 9th, and Nam gets his first point of the season as a reserve driver, but Markados just misses out on points by 12 thousandths. What a shame for Markados, but I'm really happy for Nam to get his point on the board as a reserve driver, and he gets driver of the day as well. So just like Nick de Vries there in Monza yesterday, we're seeing a repeat. I did hope we'd get a repeat to what we saw yesterday. We just did, but yeah, a really good race and one of the standout races of the season, I think.
Yeah, for me as well. That was a proper race, wasn't it? No dry weather in that one at all. And usually when you get a wet weather race, you kind of know how it plays out. It all kind of relies on the opening laps and then they kind of fall in line. Nothing like that. That is I think the most battling we've seen all season, let alone it being even in a wet race. Like, that is the most I've ever seen drivers battling in a wet race in a long time, and let alone a race this season. So yeah, what a race that was, and congratulations to Legend. Just holding on to those 36 lap old intermediate tyres. I said it earlier on, he can take the risk. He's not in a championship fight. He's not fighting for manufacturers' points. He is a reserve driver. He can do what he pleases, and it's worked out perfectly. Legend gets his first win of the season. Shout out to Tom. Amazing pace all race long. Had such a great race. He's going to be gutted though to miss out on that second win of the season by just 0.2 of a second. It was so close, but he's not quite going to get it. And yeah, I don't think much else to say. What a great race. I feel kind of sad for Markados as well. 12 thousandths out of the points for him as well, considering he had a drive through at the start of the race as well. What a great comeback. But Nam gets that point just over the Red Bull in that fight at the back of the field in the championship to get those points on the board. Markados just misses out once again.
We'll run quickly through your order then, as we got Legend, Tom, Orgiano, Valtters, Fabry, your top 5, Danerka, Asako, Rowan, Ray, and Nam, your point scorers. Markados just missing out, like he said, on the points, but some good pace for him this race. Kazizel in 12th gets the fast lap of the race, but you won't get points for that. H-Eagle 13th, Jensen 14th, Deso 50th, Brock 16th, Chiquita, Nemaya, and Mish your final point scorers, with Mish being a lap down. And your only retirement this race belongs to, unfortunately, I can't remember who it was who retired. Rudy, who unfortunately retired due to him being ill and his paddle shift, unfortunately, not working. So, yeah, definitely race of the season. Drive of the day. Well, it's got to be legend, hasn't it?
It has to be, yeah. We can't really disagree, and I can't do the diplomatic thing and offer another driver into that mix, really, can I?
No.
Yeah, Legend pulled that one off. That was a brilliant performance, a really, really strong performance there from Legend, and a gamble that paid off beautifully. And that is an example of why people have to take gambles. Sometimes you can't always take the easy option and take a regular strategy. You've got to do something different, and yeah, Legend played it absolutely perfectly. What a race! I just got to say it again, that was so much fun to watch, and considering the racing that we got and how many battles and bits of contact there were, the fact that we had no on-track retirements or really anybody, apart from Jensen, I don't think anybody else really got much damage in that race. I think the Meyer as well, but that was about it. That was crazy from start to finish. It was crazy racing all the way through, but so enjoyable to watch. And I'm now no longer fearing commentating over wet races, I would say. I was really worried that I was really worried in the future that wet races were going to be a little bit dull, because they have been on the previous game, and even on this game in some cases they can be. But yeah, that was by far the best wet race I think I've ever commentated on, or at least the ones that I can remember. So yeah, maybe we are praying for more wet races in the future. Who knows? Maybe the tide has turned just a little bit.
Yeah, potentially, because usually the races I take part in the wet conditions are usually they don't last very long in terms of enjoyment. But I think this just definitely proves that you can have a fun wet race on this game and just enjoy it nonetheless. And it is Brazil. Brazil always likes the action, and Brazil always brings good league races at PSGL and in league racing. Period. So if you haven't got Brazil on your calendar, folks, and if you're watching these from a league, add Brazil to your calendar right now, because you're not going to be disappointed, not going to lie. So we're just going to wait and see if we got someone in the rating room. And of course we got someone in the rating room. We've got our race winner that wants to talk to us. So we got the interview screen at the moment, and we were going to see if we can drag him into our commentary box. So here we go then. Our race winner, who managed to nurse those tyres for the whole race, is your first race winner of the season. Legend, talk us through your thought process there. How does it feel to get your first win in the top tier?
Yeah, it feels amazing. It was very hard, especially on the Inters, because on the quali we were in a dry setup. We still were in a race, but I knew it was going to be tricky to pull the tires to the end. But my heart was going so fast the last lap, and I pulled it off. So I'm happy, and let's move on to the next one.
Yes, and like Aidan was saying, you got to take those risks, and you definitely took those risks to a T there as well. And when you saw the likes of Tom going into the pits there, did you know you made the right decision there? Did you think it was all about track position, and were you worried that he was going to get you on the last lap?
Yeah, I was very worried because wasn't sure if the strategy was better or not, because I only knew when we crossed the line, and it was, I think, a gap of 2/10, 3/10. So yeah, I think it was a very good risk, but it was very hard to manage the tires. I think on the end I had 85% on the tires, so yeah, very hard.
I think if it was one more lap, I think Tom would have got you. But I think you were praying to have one less lap for you to keep this advantage going on. And you're only a reserve driver, of course. You've been a reserve driver for most of this season. Your best result before tonight was Monza by getting a second place. And I did say back then, if you wanted to get the dub either in the next round or in this race in Brazil, and boom, you just got that. And I thought, considering obviously it's a break week next week, you may be called to reserves again, more likely actually as well. Out of the final 3 races, what would you say would be your best chance of getting another double, maybe a really good result?
Well, I think I have at every 3 tracks a chance. It really depends on the pace, on the practice, but I think Saudi, what's next? I think I have a good chance there as well. But I'm happy, I'm a reserve, and to get a podium result and now the win, I think it's only good, and yeah, it's only a positive for next season. So I'm looking forward to next season already.
Already, there you go, thinking about the seasons ahead. Because don't forget, we got 3 seasons on the F1 22 game at PSGL. Aiden, do you have any questions for our race winner?
Well, you've just answered one of my questions, actually. I was going to say, what are your plans for next season? So I think you kind of answered that one for us. So thank you for doing that. I guess the only question for me during that race, was there ever a thought that you were going to copy the likes of Tom and Oggiano and come into the pit lane? Or was it always your strategy to stay out and do the no stop?
No, obviously we started, and I started P5, so the first thing was just to get by this, I don't want to say slow cars, but the slow cars, and get ahead of them and pull a gap. And obviously then with my engineers, with my team, we were really talking like the whole race, is this better or not? And I was not sure until, like I said, the final lap, even 1 meter before the finish line, I was not sure. And when we posted, it was a good call. So, I'm happy. Like I said, full focus on the next race.
Yeah, it was obviously a brilliant call in the end. And did the obviously you had a couple of cars behind you on the same strategy as well. You had Denerco and Fabian Philip Valtters all doing the same thing as you. Did that influence kind of yours and your team's kind of decision as to stay out? Was that kind of why you wanted to stay out? Do you think if they weren't there, you would have come in?
Yeah, if they would have pit, I think I would have gone in as well. But at the same time, I could have stayed out as well. But I think I would have not won today because they held up Tom a little bit. So that helped me a lot. But yeah, maybe I still would get a P2. So I think I would still stay out.
Yeah, always good to take the gamble. It's nice to see drivers taking risks and doing something a little bit different. Congratulations on your first win of the season, and hopefully for you, get another one to finish off the season as well.
Thank you.
There we go. So that was our race winner, Legend, wanting to speak to us, and that was a very nice conversation with our race winner, of course. And hopefully we would hear from more in the future, as I don't know what happened to my other co-com. Oh, there he is. We just lost you for a minute there. I was for a minute, but he's back now as well. But unfortunately, we're not able to speak to Tom. I don't think he's probably a bit gutted about his performance. But we will speak for a little moment whilst we wait for Tom to head to the interview box if he chooses to. But we got a break week next week, so no races for us, unfortunately. But we head to, I believe it's Jeddah next week because we don't have Abu Dhabi due to the track limits. What do you think of Jeddah? It's a great track for league racing, and what do these guys have to think about going into the final third of the season?
There's going to be a lot to think about now, isn't there? I think we're getting to that point. I think Legends proved it today. We're getting to that point in the season where drivers are taking a bit more risk now, trying to get that win on the season, trying to see if they can get a win to cap off their seasons as well. I think Legends proved that, and I think we'll see a few more drivers take risks in strategy like that throughout the rest of the season to try and get some sort of win on the board. I'm thinking drivers like the 2 McLarens, who we've seen good pace from so far this season. They could be drivers that want to get a win on the board, but maybe necessarily on raw pace can't quite do that. So I think we'll see a lot more of these bold strategies going forward for the rest of the season. And when it comes to Jeddah, I won't mention too much about the country itself, but the track itself, I was very skeptical about the track going into it. I think in real life it is quite difficult and it's a little bit dangerous, but on the game it provides great racing, and I enjoy driving it personally as well. It's got a really nice flow to it. It's obviously very long, a lot of corners. It's difficult, but I think it provides a unique challenge that we don't really have throughout the rest of the calendar. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Jeddah races are always usually pretty insane as well. We've obviously got the DRS chicken that we see quite a lot into that final corner. So I think we'll see a lot of that next time out. We've seen it before in PSGL. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it again. So yeah, that's going to be really, really interesting. And Jeddah's not really a tyre wear race or anything like that as well. So I think we're going to be seeing drivers going flat out from start to finish, trying to get the best result.
And we could see maybe the soft tyres being used for the first time. Yeah. You never know. As like you were saying, I was able to stretch the softs around Jeddah for quite a bit of time when I was doing practice for Jeddah for league race in the future. I like the track as well, very flowy, but I always tend to get involved in incidents, so kind of a bit of a mixed bag for me. I wonder how these drivers are going to fare in just under 14 days time. No races this week for the PlayStation or the PC. The next PSGL race, believe it or not, is tomorrow, and that's with GT7. That'll be Luke Etheridge commentating on the Tier 2 action, and then we got Webbo commentating on Tier 1. So if you want to catch that, that'll be around about 7:45 UK time tomorrow on the PSGL channel if you want to check that out. I'm almost certainly going to be checking that out as well myself to see what that happens, and then we'll be back same time in 2 weeks time. Well, we got next week, we got the PC action on Wednesday with F2 next Wednesday with Luke Etheridge and Chris Buxton take you through that action. Then we got F3, F4, F5, F6 on next Thursday, and then the following Monday it will be myself and Aiden take you through the Jeddah action then at 8 PM UK time. But before we end the stream, I'm going to be saying some words about, obviously, our late Majesty, the Queen Elizabeth. She died on Thursday, unfortunately, at 6:30, and it was very, very, very sad to hear the news when we heard about that. And we will take a minute silence to end the stream just to share tributes to what an amazing lady she was as well. And I'm sure a lot of drivers were wanting to win this race for her late Majesty, the Queen, who has given up so much for her life to help others on the UK and across the Commonwealth, and she was head of state for quite a few countries as well. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll leave you with a minute silent for our late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, and as well hear from our sponsors GT Omega, Grid Rival, and the outro at the end. So I've been Jess Ball, commentator has been Aidan Carter. We will see you in just under 2 weeks time for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in Jeddah. Have a good evening, goodbye, and rest in peace, Queen Elizabeth II.
This broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega and Grid Rival, proudly supporting PSGL.